The message that found you not by accident. Ibn Arabi. Before you listen, breathe. Like, comment, and share, not because you were told to, but because perhaps this message found you for a reason. Ibn Arabi once said, "Every word that reaches you carries a secret chosen for your soul." Nothing touches your heart except what was written for it before time began. This message you are hearing now is not coincidence. It is a reminder from the one who never forgets you. He taught that everything in life, a verse, a stranger's kindness, even a moment of pain, is a letter from Allah. You are not the one who finds these messages. They find you. They arrive exactly when your soul is ready to hear them. Ibn Arabi wrote that the soul is like a garden, and revelation is the rain. When the soil of the heart softens through struggle and patience, Allah sends a drop, a word, a sign, a meeting, and that drop awakens something dormant within. What feels like chance is divine precision. What feels like accident is mercy in disguise. He said, "The Beloved speaks through all things, through loss and laughter, through waiting and wonder. The only veil is our distraction." So if these words reach you now, it means you were meant to pause, to remember, to return. Allah is calling you closer not through miracles, but through moments. And maybe this is one of them. Every test that confused you, every delay that broke you, every silence that hurt you, they were all leading you here, to this realization: nothing in your life has been random. You are being written, every second, by the same hand that wrote the stars. Ibn Arabi would remind his students, when you finally stop asking, "Why me?" you begin to see it was always you whom Allah chose to receive this message. So listen closely. If something inside you stirs right now, if your heart softens even for a moment, know that it is not emotion, it is recognition. The soul remembering its origin. The message that found you was not wandering. It was sent. Would you like me to continue to tell how Ibn Arabi described the moment when a soul truly realizes that nothing is coincidence, and sees Allah's handwriting in every event of its life? After a lifetime of seeking, Ibn Arabi wrote that sometimes the deepest truth doesn't arrive when you search for it, it finds you when you've stopped searching. He described that one night he sat alone, tired from endless study, heart heavy with questions that had no answers. The candle beside him flickered weakly, about to die, and in that stillness he whispered, "Ya Allah, I no longer know what I'm looking for." And in that moment, the wind passed through his window, snuffing out the flame, and yet the room grew brighter. Not from fire, but from understanding. A light within his chest had awakened. He heard no voice, yet a meaning formed inside him so clear, so undeniable, that it felt like revelation. "You were never searching for me. It was I who was calling you back." He later wrote, "When the message finds you, it is not new. It is remembrance. It is the soul recognizing the handwriting of its Lord." He realized that even the moments he thought were wasted, the years of confusion, the detours, the heartbreak, were perfectly placed signs. Allah had been speaking through them all, wrapping truth in disguise, teaching through silence, shaping through patience. From that night on, he no longer chased meaning, he received it. When something happened, he didn't ask, "Why this?" He asked, "What does this carry for me?" Every meeting became a verse, every trial a lesson, every delay a door. He told his students, "Do not run after messages. Live with open hearts, and they will arrive. The divine script has already written where every word must fall." And perhaps that is why these words found you now. Because somewhere, your soul was ready to remember that nothing, not this story, not this moment, came by chance. Would you like me to continue describing how Ibn Arabi taught his followers to recognize when a message was truly from Allah and not from the noise of their own mind? He told his disciples that the difference between a divine message and the noise of the mind is silence. Not the silence of the tongue, but of the heart. When a thought comes from Allah, Ibn Arabi said, it does not rush. It arrives softly, like dawn spreading over the horizon. It brings clarity, not confusion. The heart expands. The air feels lighter. You do not chase it, it sits beside you. He warned them not to mistake restlessness for revelation. The ego speaks loud, demanding, urgent, he said. But the beloved whispers. His words wait for the moment your heart is still enough to hear them. One of his students asked, Master, how do we learn to recognize those whispers? Ibn Arabi smiled. By unlearning noise, he replied. When your prayers become listening more than asking, when your remembrance becomes presence more than repetition, then the messages will reveal themselves like stars that were always there, only hidden by the storm. He taught that divine messages do not come only in sacred spaces. Sometimes they come while walking through the market, while hearing a stranger's kindness, while losing something you thought you couldn't live without. He said, Allah speaks to you through life itself. You are living inside His language. One evening, as the sun sank below the horizon, Ibn Arabi was sitting with a small group of students near the courtyard of a mosque. The call to prayer had ended, and the sky glowed in shades of orange and violet. He looked up and said quietly, the message that finds you is not new. It is the echo of your own prayer, returning to you after making its journey through the unseen. He paused, then added, you think it is coincidence when a verse comforts you, when a word heals you, when a sign repeats itself until you listen. But it is Allah answering in His own way. He never forgot you, He was only waiting for you to notice. That night, one of the disciples woke suddenly before dawn, tears on his face, heart trembling. He understood what the Master meant. All the unanswered prayers of his life, all the closed doors, the moments he thought he was abandoned, they were not silence, but messages written in a language he had not yet learned to read. He rose, washed his face, and whispered, Ya Allah, I hear you now. From that day, the disciple said every moment felt alive, even his struggles. Because he finally saw what Ibn Arabi had been teaching all along, that the message of Allah does not arrive once, it is always arriving. Every heartbeat, every breath, every rise of the sun is His call to remember. Would you like me to continue describing how Ibn Arabi's followers began to live by this awareness, seeing Allah's signs not as miracles but as part of daily life itself? And so, the disciples began to live differently. They no longer searched for miracles in the sky, they began to see them in every breath. When they ate, they thanked not just for food but for the invitation, the reminder that Allah sustains. When they lost something, they no longer said, Why me, but whispered, What is my Lord showing me now? They started noticing how each day unfolded like a sacred page, each moment written by the same divine hand. Ibn Arabi would watch them quietly and smile. Now you begin to see, he said, that the universe is not happening to you, it is happening for you. It is Allah's constant conversation with your soul. He told them that the greatest tragedy is not misfortune but blindness, the blindness of a heart that sees events but not their meaning. You think Allah stopped speaking after revelation, he said softly, but He never stopped. Revelation continues through reality itself. The Qur'an was written in words, but creation is the Qur'an written in light. One morning, while walking with his students, they came upon a poor man sitting by the roadside, sharing a piece of bread with a stray dog. Ibn Arabi stopped and watched. The man noticed him and smiled. It's not much, the man said, but Allah provides enough for both. Ibn Arabi turned to his students and whispered, This is a message. Did you hear it? They looked confused. He continued, the message was not the man's words. It was his peace. The Beloved speaks through those who live without fear of tomorrow. From that day, the disciples began to record what they called signs of the ordinary, moments where they saw the presence of Allah hidden in daily life. A child's laughter after a storm. A door that closed just before danger. A delay that led to safety. Each event small, yet each carrying a trace of mercy too precise to be chance. One of them asked, "Master, if all things are messages, why do so few people hear them?" Ibn Arabi replied, "Because they read with their eyes and not their hearts. The message of Allah is written in silence. Only the heart trained in remembrance can read it." He explained that remembrance, dhikr, is not repetition of words, but awakening of awareness. When you say Allah, he said, say it until the world itself begins to echo it back. Say it until you realize that every sound, every event, every breath is already saying it. He taught that the soul's greatest moment is not when it receives a message, but when it finally recognizes that life itself is the message. And so, his students began to live without hurry. They prayed with hearts open not to answers, but to presence. They walked slower. They listened deeper. They forgave quicker. Because once you know the world is speaking from Allah, how can you be angry at anything? In his final years, Ibn Arabi wrote in his journal, "The message that finds you is written by the same hand that formed your soul. It arrives not to change your path, but to show that every step you've taken was guided." He ended that page with a line that his students would repeat for generations. "Do not wait for a sign. You are the sign. You are the verse through which Allah speaks." Would you like me to continue and tell how Ibn Arabi's final days revealed one last divine message, the one that came to him just before he left this world? In his final days, Ibn Arabi withdrew into silence. His students noticed that he spoke less and smiled more, as if he were hearing something they could not. He would sit by the window at dawn, watching the first light stretch across the desert, and whisper verses under his breath, words only Allah could hear. When asked what he was thinking, he replied softly, "I am listening for the last message." One evening, as the sun began to set, he gathered his disciples. The air was still, heavy with peace. He looked at each of them with eyes that seemed to see beyond the world. "You have followed me long enough," he said, "but do not cling to me. I am not the destination, I am only the signpost pointing toward the one who never leaves." He told them that life is a circle, and every message is a return to the same truth, that you were never lost, only guided in a language you did not yet understand. "The message that finds you," he said, "is Allah reminding you of who you already are, His creation, His echo, His mercy walking the earth." As night fell, the wind rose gently. The lamps flickered. Ibn Arabi closed his eyes and smiled. His lips moved one final time. "O Allah! You were the first message. And now you are the last." The wind carried those words across the courtyard, through the still air, into the hearts of his students. Some wept, others bowed. And in that moment, they understood there would be no farewell, because there was no separation. The one who taught them to see divine signs had simply become one himself. They buried him beneath the open sky. No grand monument, no inscription, only a single stone engraved with the words he had once written. He who listens with the heart will always hear the Beloved calling. And over centuries, as the desert shifted and empires rose and fell, people still found their way to that quiet place. Some came by chance, others by longing, but all felt the same peace settle over them. Because the message he spoke of was still alive, carried by wind, by memory, by hearts that had learned to listen. That was Ibn Arabi's final gift to the world, not a secret, not a book, but an awakening, a reminder that nothing that reaches you is random, nothing that touches your soul is mistake, and every moment that breaks you open is a message from Allah, sent perfectly on time. And so his story ended not with an ending, but a return. The light he carried dissolved back into the infinite, whispering the same truth it always had. You did not find this message. It found you. And it was never by accident.